Yeah, we sound. Hmm? Andiyazi noma inethiwekhi le iqhuba ngantoni na. Noma kutheni imane ilahleka, hayi andiyazi.
Yes, Mr. James, we can hear you.
All right, wonderful. If you can hear me. All right. I'd like to welcome you all to our lessons for the second semester. So most of you know me from the first semester when we were doing the four modules, when we're doing microeconomics, business finance, advanced management principles, and understanding marketing. And I believe that most of you were able to get good marks during the semester. And now that we want to go the second semester, we just want to make sure that Tandeka, can you make sure that you're muted?
95% of home testers who tried Max agreed to perform better than the liquid they usually buy.
Tandeka, please make sure that you're muted.
Yes. With Max, okay, let me mute. Ran out, helping you buy better.
Thank you. So like I was saying, we are getting into the second semester and we just want to make sure that we do whatever we did last semester again. So what we do as usual is we are going to go through your study modules. So all of the units in your study modules, we are going to do lessons on a weekly basis as we go through the study module. Then in addition to the lessons that we are going to do, we are also going to do assignment classes where we go through the KCQ, where we go through the case study with you guys. And then at the end of the semester towards the exams, we are going to do exam preparation classes, which we are going to do together in order for you to pass the exam. So the same model that we used in the first semester is the same model that we use in the second semester for all the different modules that you guys are going to do. The cost is going to be the same, which is 800 Rand for each module. And you are, please make sure you're muted, guys. 800 Rand per module. And that's okay, let me do this so that right. All right, 800 Rand per module, which is payable in installments, right? So that's the cost for those of you that want to join through. And then this week the lessons will be free. I'll be sending some videos and etc. So for the new guys that don't know us, so that you can know what you're getting yourself into. But for the guys that already know us, you know what the deal is. You can make your installments, we'll add you to a WhatsApp group, and then every week we'll do the lessons, we'll do the assignments together, we'll do the exam preparation together as a what? As a team. Right. Then the lecturers or the tutors that will be taking you through, we've got Mr. Kudasvanda. He's going to be taking you through for statistical techniques and information management. So he's going to be in charge of my team this semester. If you've got any requests, any issues, feel free to ask him on the platforms, right? Then in terms of the WhatsApps, I will still be there on WhatsApp. I'll assist you guys, whatever you want. If you've got any issue, feel free to give me a call. In terms of the lessons and whatnot, just talk to Mr. Kuda whenever he has lessons, and then he will assist you guys with whatever it is that you're going to need during your during your lessons. Then lastly, you're going to have Mr. Sandy. He's going to take you through project management. Mr. Innocent is going to take you through operations management. And you're going to have Susan. I believe you know Susan. She's going to take you through for ethical business management. So those are going to be the lectures. You're going to see them as we go through the week. They will come through and they will introduce themselves. So I think that's it from me. If there are any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll answer them. But if there's nothing, critical, then I think you guys can go ahead for your lesson today. Mr. Svanda?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. James. Just a confirmation, is this session being recorded?
Let me see. Yes, it's being recorded.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Let me just make-
Okay. All right. All right. So, like Mr. James say, my name is Kuda. I'll be the one taking you for statistical techniques and information management. So today we are not going to delve a bit deeper into the lectures. Today is just introductory. I'm just trying to give you an overview of how I do my lectures, right? So at least if you have an idea of the method of delivery that that I use in these lectures, you at least maybe appreciate or have an idea of the type of lectures that we are going to be having. So one other thing that I wanted to emphasize also is we're going to cover every unit of your module. So we're going to cover things that are in your study guide, right? So I'll try by all means to take you step by step, even if you don't understand maths, even if maths was not your thing. I assume that the people that come here, they don't have a background in stats, right? So I'll try by all means, to take you through the necessary steps so that at the end of the semester, you are able to write the exam as an expert. All right, so today what I'm going to do, let me just share the screen right now. So, okay, let me try to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm sharing with you just what do you call this? This is an assignment that was written a while ago, for statistics, but I'm going to explain it in very elementary, ways so that you can understand. So remember, the purpose of this lecture is not for you to understand concepts, because remember, I'm going to take you through each and everything after this lecture. The purpose of this lecture is for you guys to appreciate the method of delivery. So even if I say certain things and you don't understand them, don't worry. I'm going to repeat it again later when we start with the module officially. So this is introduction. We want you guys to appreciate what we do at VUT when it comes to lecturing. All right. So don't mind, even if you don't understand things, don't worry. I'm going to repeat these things at a much later stage. All right. So before we can dive into statistics, right, we need to define what statistics is. Most of you guys, know that statistics is just, mathematics. You just see numbers, wara, things like that, right? But actually, it is a branch of mathematics, right, which is actually used in various departments or various fields. So these various fields, they take this branch of mathematics when they are collecting information, they want to analyze information. Okay, let me not say information, but data. So when they're collecting data, when they are analyzing data, and then interpreting data. Right? So statistics now, it can be used to predict the future. Like, for example, some people that can predict, like, let's say the stock market, people that can predict the economy. So it can be used to predict the future. It might not be perfect, but it can give you what is called the certainty that something is going to happen in the future, right? So statistics now determines the probability with which an event will occur, right? So we're going to explain also this part in detail when we do the lectures. So statistics is used in many different fields. It can be used in business, it can be used in medicine, it can be used in biology, psychology, social sciences, wherever you want to collect information, analyze data, and interpret the data. So basically that's stats. Stats is all about collecting the data, analyzing the data, and then interpret the data that you have collected and analyzed. All right. So now I want to define certain concepts that we're going to use today in this assignment. Like I said, even if you don't understand some of the things that I'm going to say, don't worry, right? I'm going to take time. Remember, we've got the whole semester. So I'm going to take you throughout the semester to understand this, to explain this concept in detail, right? So that you guys, you can grasp. So I want to define something called a measure of central tendency. So there's a category of statistics. Statistics basically they're divided into two. They have what they call descriptive statistics. Then they've got what they call inferential statistics. So descriptive statistics, basically what it does, it's statistics that can describe the set of data, right? So amongst these, descriptive statistics, there is a particular called a measure of central tendency. So these types of statistics, what they do is they use a single value to describe the set of data. Let me give you an example. A very good example is your average, right? So I think most of you guys, you know that the thing of these metric guys came out. So you hear that, let's say, a school had 100% pass rate, right? So how did they come up with 100% pass rate, and yet maybe there were 90 students that wrote metric? So basically what they did is they took, let's say, like the average mark of each and every metric student, and then they find the average. And then they say, oh, so each and every person here, maybe they passed, they got a pass, then it's 100% pass rate, right? So they are just finding an average. Or like, for example, you get into a class, right? You measure the height of people, and then you find the average height. So the average height now, you are describing the height of the class using a single value. That is what is called a measure of central tendency, right? So in statistics now, we don't use the word average. We use the word mean. So the word average is replaced by the word mean. The word mean here that you can see where my mouse is hovering over, right? So the word mean means an average. So apart from the average, we've got a median, right? So a median now, what it does is you've got a set of data, right? So let's say the number 1 to 100, right? Then what you want to do is you want to find a value that separates this data set into two equal halves, right? So let's say, for example, let's say maybe we've got 1 to 101, right? If you are to find the value that separates this data set from 1 to 101 into two equal halves, maybe you will see that the value maybe is 50, right? So 50 will be the value at the middle that can separate this data set into two equal halves. So we are going to talk about it in detail. Then mode now, this is a value that reoccurs the most number of times, or the number that is repeated the most number of times. So let's say we've got 5 people that wrote an exam, right? So the first one got, let's say, 40%, the second one got 50, the third one got 50, and let's say that the fourth one got 80, and then the fifth one got 70. So you can see from the values that I've said, there are 2 people that have got the same mark, which is 50. So if you are given a data set, the data points that are repeated the most, that is what is called a mode, right? So don't worry, we're going to explain this in detail. Then there's what we call ungrouped data. So ungrouped data is the data you first gather when you from an experiment or study. Let me give you an example. So let's say you guys you are sitting in a classroom, right? And then your lecturer comes in, and then they say, I've got a sheet I'm going to write your shoe size. I'm going to write shoe size for each and every person sitting in this classroom. So when the lecturer starts to write the shoe size down for each and every person that is sitting in that classroom, the type of data that the lecturer is gathered is what is called ungrouped data. Why? Because this data is not grouped in any way. It's data that is raw. It is not sorted in any category or classified or grouped, right? So basically, an ungrouped set of data is a list of numbers. So when you do your experiment or whatever, like this lecturer, you wanted to figure out the shoe sizes of people. When he went in, he just wrote them down as he was given the shoe sizes. He didn't categorize it. He didn't group it. So that type of data is ungrouped, right? Which means the data was first gathered from the experiment without being processed further. Then the second type of data that we have is what is called grouped data. So let me give you an example using the one of the lecturer who got into the classroom. So let's say that this same lecturer, right, who wrote, who wrote the shoe sizes down. So let's say now he wants to group people. So what he can do now, let's say he gets into the classroom and then he says, people with a shoe size between 5 and 6, can you stand up and go and stand on that corner? Then he says, people with a shoe size of 7 to 8, can you go and stand on the other corner? Then he says, people with a shoe size of 9 to 10, can you stand and go to the other corner? So what the lecturer now is doing is gathering the same information, but now he is grouping the people based on a class which they fall under. So it means that a person who has a shoe size between 5 to 6, he has to go to a group that is for 5 and 6, right? You won't find a person with a shoe size of 6 in a bundle or a category where people have got a shoe size of 8 to 9. So what he is doing now is he has collected that information, but now he has grouped it, right, based on certain categories. So that is the other type of data that we have. So you need to keep that in mind. So now getting into the assignment, right? So this assignment, so this way, okay, I'm saying that someone has got a question. Yes, you may kindly unmute. You can kindly unmute and. Oh, all right. Isnat, I'm seeing that you have raised your hand. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So I'm assuming that maybe the icon came up by mistakes. I'm seeing that someone raised their hand. So guys, if you have a question, whilst I am doing this lecture, right, just feel free, to ask a question, right? So now, going back to this assignment here, right? So this assignment, it was a question, right, where there were 20 people that were given some wages, right? So these guys, they were given wages they worked at a certain company, right? And then they were given wages. So let me just give me a moment. I'm trying to open the question here. Let me show you. All right, just a moment. I'm going to a PDF. All right. So this is a statistical techniques, right? Case study. When was it? So this is 2021, right? So it was actually an assignment, right? But it was very easy. That's why I took it, right? So that you can have an idea. So let's read this, right? So it says the following data give the hourly wage rates in rands for a sample of 20 workers selected from a large company. So you have a large company, it has got 20 workers, right? And then you are given the hourly wage of each and every worker, right? So these numbers, right? There are 20 of them, and they are representing the hourly wage of each worker, right? Now, the question gets to, the first question says, using the raw data, determine the range, right? 2 marks. Second question says, what percentage of these workers get paid less than 10 rand per hour? Then third question says, group the data into a frequency distribution with the lowest class lower limit of 5 and the class width of 2, include the cumulative frequency. Then determine the mean wage rate using the raw data. Then the last one, draw an Ogive curve corresponding to the data and use it to estimate the median. All right. So those are the questions. So now let's go back. Like I said, don't worry. So even if you see that certain things you're not getting them, don't worry. I said the purpose of this lecture is for you to see my method of delivery so that you can appreciate, right, how we do things in whether it's statistics or information management, because I'm going to take both courses. So my method of delivery is almost the same. So now what you do now is we were given 20 hourly wages.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
I just want to ask, are we discussing the case study that we currently have for this
No.
semester?
No, are they similar?
Or no, I'm just asking since I
no.
didn't hear properly.
Okay, I'll assist you with that one when we do the lectures.
Oh, all right. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So what we do, let me just explain this. So what we do is I'm going to take you for the lectures, right? From the start of the semester to the end of semester, I'm going to cover everything. Then I'm going to do KCQ with you guys, both of them. So we'll do it and then I'll give you the answers, the correct answer, so that when you log in, you get 10 out of 10, right? On both of them. Then I'm going to assist you again on how to write your assignment. So we're going to do it in class and then I'm going to send you a sample, but however, you need to write different things. So most likely, right, if you don't make a mistake, if you do everything that I told you in the class, you're going to pass also the assignment. Then at the end of the semester, I'm going to do past exam question papers with you. So don't worry about the assignment and the KCQs. I'm going to take you through all of them during the course. So what I'm doing today, it's not the assignment. So this one, maybe I'm assuming that you came a little bit late. So here today is just an introductory lecture so that you can have an idea of how this module will be like and how I deliver, the content to you guys.
Okay,
I hope.
Thank you so
all right.
much. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. All right. So now you can see that we're given hourly wages for 20 people, right? So normally what I do, okay, let me show you a keyword there. So the keyword there, like the first question, it was saying using the raw data. So they're telling you that this type of data that you've been given is ungrouped data. That's why I took time to explain ungrouped data and grouped data, because this data here is not grouped in any way. It's just numbers that are listed down. So this is raw data. So you realize later on, when we get into the lectures, that the reason why I'm separating these two, ungrouped data and grouped data, is because the formulas that I used for ungrouped data, they are different from the formulas that I use for grouped data. So when it comes to measure of central tendency, you will calculate the mean, you calculate the median, you calculate the mode. But what will be different is the mean for the ungrouped data will be different from how you calculate mean from the grouped data. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say, right? So you need to be able to identify that the data is raw or the data is grouped. right? But you see the difference because I'm going to take you through each and every type of the data there. So now this data that we have been given, it's ungrouped. So you can see that it's in a list, right? It's not grouped in any way. So what I did now to make life easy for me before I do any calculation, I rearranged it in what we call ascending order, starting with the lowest value to the maximum value. So when I rearranged this, right, the lowest value was 5.35. So let me show you on the PDF. So if you check here, if you check, you see that there is 5.35 here. So that is the smallest value there. And if I'm not mistaken, the largest value should be this one, which is 15.90. So everything else is in between these two values, right? So basically what I did is I just rearranged these values from the lowest value to the maximum value. So let's go now to the first question. The first question was calculate the range. So when you are calculating the range, there's a formula for the range. If you go in your study guide, it's there, right? So everything that we will be doing here is from the study guide. The formulas will be in the study guide, unless maybe your lecturer asks you something which is basic, right? But most of the things are from the module guide, right? So range, if you go and check in a module guide, to calculate range, you say the highest value minus the lowest value. So because already I have sorted my data from the lowest value to the maximum value, so it's easier for me to get the highest value and the lowest value. So the highest value is 15.90. I write 15.90 here. My lowest value is 5.35. I write 5.35 here. Then I subtract the two, and then I get a difference of 10.55. So that is a range, right? Now let's get to the second question. So the second question says, what percentage of workers get paid less than 10 Rand per hour? So as you can see from the data, you can see that the wages are not constant, right? They differ from each person, right? But what this question is asking us is, though these wages are different, tell us the percentage of people that have got wages less than 10. So from the data, we've got people that have got wages less than 10, and we've got people that have got wages greater than 10. But the question is asking only for the percentage of people that have a wage less than 10 Rand, right, per hour. So we go back to the Word document, right? So because I have rearranged the data or sorted the data from the lowest value to the maximum value, so it's easier for me to count the values that are less than 10. Okay, so let me do this. So let me try to find the value which is slightly above 10, right? So which is this one. So let me do this. Let me put bold and red there. So this value marks or this value acts as our demarcation, right? Or as a separate line, right? So what it means is anything that is less than 10.8, right? We are going to count it. Anything above it, including 10.8, we are not going to include it, right? So let's count how many values are less than 10.8. So there is 1 here, there is 2, there is 3, there is 4, there is 5, there is 6, there is 7, there is 8. So one thing that you need to know, this question the formula is not in the study guide. So here the lecturer was just trying to play with your mind. Just wanted to know if you know percentages, right? Remember, percentages, it's some of these things we did it, you know, when in primary and also in secondary. So it doesn't matter whether you did maths maybe after matric or whatever or before matric. I think percentages are it's just something which is basic, right? So now to find percentage, we say the number of workers paid less than 10 rand per hour over the total number of workers. So basically, we have counted that the number of workers that are paid less than 10 rand per hour, they are 8. We counted together, right? Then the total number of workers, we are told that there were 20. So obviously here we say 8 over 20 multiplied by 100, it gives us 40%. So 40% of the workers, they are paid 10 rand per hour, according to our calculations, right? So that is actually how we do the calculation there. So now let's get to, I think we can say that some of these things are a bit straightforward, right? Let's go to number 3. So number 3 is a little bit, you know, it includes some dynamics of the states. But like I said, if you don't understand, don't worry. This is introductory. I'm going to repeat each and everything that I'm doing today. I'm going to repeat it in the lecture, so don't worry. Even if it looks like you're lost, I'm gonna. So in the lectures now, what I do is I will be patient with you. If I won't proceed until everyone is on board. All right, that's how I do my thing. So I make sure that each and every person understands. If you don't understand, I'll keep, you know, explaining to you, right? But my method of explanation, they're not that hard, right? So almost everyone that I have taught, right, before, they haven't struggled with this module, okay, before. All right. So now the question says group the data. So now remember, this data that we've been given is what? It's ungrouped, right? It's listed. It's not grouped in any way, right? So now they're telling us to group the data. So there's a certain way that you group it, right? That's how we are going to show you based on the information that they've given us. So you are going to group the data into what is called a frequency distribution with a lowest class, lower limit of 5 rand and a class width of 2 rand and include cumulative frequency. So let me start by defining certain terms before I calculate this. So let me start by defining what is called a class interval, right? So a class interval, it is a term that is used to denote the numerical width of a class in a frequency distribution, all right? So basically, when you're grouping, let me go back to that example of the lecturer, because I like to use this example because it's very practical, right? So you can relate to it. So when this lecturer says, those with the shoe size of 5 to 6 stand there, those with the shoe size of 7 to 8 stand there. What he's doing is he's grouping people based on class intervals, right? So the first class that he announced is size 5 to 6. That's the first class, right? So the interval of that class is 5 to 6, right? So when you are grouping data in frequency distribution, you have classes or what is called class intervals. So in this case, the first class will be 5 to 6. The second class will be 7 to 8. The third class will be 9 to 10. The fourth class will be 11 to 12. Then the last class might be 13 to 14. I'm not so sure if there's a shoe size above 14. I'm not so sure, right? But for the benefit of the doubt, let's say, it ends at 14. So those will be the 4 classes or 5 classes that we will have. So those classes can also be called class intervals, right? So now these classes, they will be defined by 2 values. For example, the first class we said it is from 5 to 6, right? So 5 now will be the lowest value in that class. then 6 will be the maximum value in that class. So when we've got a class of 5 to 6, we expect people, right, the lowest value to be 5, and then the maximum value in that class to be 6. So anything in between, let's say maybe there was a shoe size with a comma, 5.6. I know it's not practical, but for the sake of explaining, right? So let's say maybe there was a shoe size that say maybe 5.5, right? We know that 5.5 falls in that range because the lowest limit of that class is 5, the maximum limit is 6, right? So a class is defined by two limits, right? A lower limit and a upper limit for that class only. So that takes us now to what we call the class limits. So the class limits are the lowest and the highest values that can be included in a class. So let's take, for example, a class that have got 30 to 40. So the lowest value of the class is 30, and the highest value of that class is 40. So if we are within that class, I don't expect to see a value of 29 because it doesn't fall into this class, right? So, but this class has got values from 30 to 40. The minimum value being 30 and the maximum value being 40. So the lowest value of the class is 30 and the highest value is 40. So the two boundaries of the class are known as the lower limit and the upper limit. Now that we have defined a class or a class interval in the limits of the class, let's now define what is called the width of the class, right? So now the width of the class, it refers to the difference between what we call an upper and lower boundaries of any class. So let me explain this in detail. Right? Let's go to these points here. So how do you calculate class width? So you actually numerically calculate the class width. So there are two ways of doing it. So remember, okay, let me use this example here, right? For now, just ignore everything else on the second and third column. So we've got how many classes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So the first class, it starts with 5, and then the maximum value for that class is 7, right? It's not supposed to be 7 here, so for the sake of, because people will be confused, right? Let me just, all right, I'll change as we go. So now, the lowest value in this class is 5, and the maximum value in this class is 6.99, right? So anything, right, any wage that is within this category, right, it goes into this class. Then the next class now will start at 7, right? So 7 will be the lowest value, and then the maximum value is going to be 8.99, right? So now what I wanted to explain is we've got two classes, right? So this is the first class, this is the second class. In the first class, we have the lower limit and upper limit, right? For the second class, we've got lower limit and we've got upper limit. So once you've got two classes that are consecutive, that are one after the other, then you are able to calculate what is called a class width. So there are two methods of calculating the class width, right? So if you want to use upper limits only, which means that you are only using the values on the right side, which is 6.99 and 8.99. If you choose to use these two values to calculate the class width, then the formula will be the upper limit. It will be the upper limit of the second class, right? So let me try to write that down. So it will be, so this is actually how I write equations when we are doing lectures, right? So let me show you how I do this. Okay. Remember, this is for demonstration purposes only. Everything that I'm saying today, I'm going to repeat. So we say upper limit, right? Limit of the second class. So let me put 2 here, minus upper limit. Okay. Of the first class. So let me go back and show you. So we've got these 2 classes, right? So this is the lower limit of the first class, upper limit of the first class, lower limit of the second class, upper limit of the second class. So if you want to calculate the class width, if you choose to use upper limits, so you say upper limit of the second class, which is 8.99 minus 6.99, then you get your class width. If you choose lower limits, then you say lower limit of the second class minus lower limit of the first class, then you get your class width. So let me say here equals to class width, because I'm going to send you this document, right? For the sake of the other guys that may want this as a refresher when we start the module, excuse me. All right. So this is how you calculate the what? The lower limit and the upper limit. So now let's see how do we populate this table here. How do we populate this table? All right, so now that I have explained that, let's go back to the question. Now you understand the question. I know when I first wrote the question, you didn't get it because you didn't know the what? You didn't know the terms. Now let's go back again to the question, right? With the definitions that I've given you. And then let's go back and work it out together. So the question says, group the data into a frequency distribution into that table with the lowest class lower limit. So the first class itself, right, must have a lower limit of 5. And the class width is 2. So given these 2, you can actually populate the table, right, with the lower limit of the first class, which is 5, and the class width, which is 2. All right. So you know what the lower limit is, and you already know what a class width is. So let's go. Let me show you how do you populate this, right? So now we get to our table. So the reason why I've written 5 is because we are told the first class, right, the lower limit is 5, right? And then we are told that the class width is 2. So when we come now to this equation that I told you of calculating the class width, so we know that the lower limit of the second class, so in this case, we don't have a second class, right? So we are now actually formulating an equation. So we are saying the lower limit of the second class minus the lower limit of the first class must give us the class width. We are told that the class width is what? Is 2, right? And we are told that the lower limit is 5. So I come and substitute here. So lower limit 1, I substitute with 5, this 5 here. And then the class width, I come and substitute with 2 here, because we are told that the class width is 2. So now we are left with this equation that says lower limit 2 of the second class minus 5, which is the lower limit of the first class, right, should be equal to 2. So if we group like terms, so this is equations. I'm assuming that everyone knows how to calculate equations, right? So when we group like terms, because remember lower limit is an unknown. So we are grouping the numbers that are similar. So when we group them, this -5 crosses over the equal sign, and then it changes sign. I'm not going to explain equations because that's not part of our module, right? I'm assuming that you already know. This is basic maths, right? Even if you did math lead or you did general maths, this is just basic. So this is -5. So if it crosses over equal sign, it changes sign to plus. So then our lower limit is equals to 2 plus 5, which is equals to 7. So here we've already calculated our lower limit for the second class. So we can come here and say 7.00. So we know obviously, according to the laws, that the upper limit of the first class must not overlap with the the lower limit of the second class. So here we can just say 6.99. Now that we've got 6.99, if you want to find the upper limit of the second class, what you can do, you can now use the second equation. Upper limit of the second class minus upper limit of the first class equals to class width. So we already know, let me put the equation. So like I told you, I take you step by step, right? So that you guys understand everything. If you are lost anywhere, you are free to raise, even right now. If you are lost somewhere, just feel free to lift your hand or unmute so that we can assist, right? So we say minus. So here the unknown is upper limit for the second class. We don't know it. But the upper limit of the first class, we already know it, which is 6.99, right? So we can say 6.99 here. And then we say equals. We already know that the class width is 2, right? So by rearranging there, because we know that this is an equation taking like terms, we can say upper limit of the second class equals to 2 plus 6.99, which gives us 8.99. So, which means now that the upper limit of the second class is 8.99. So once you have this now, so you can actually do this by your head. So when we go to the next class, we say 7 plus 2, which is 9.00. Then here we say 8.99 plus 2, then you get 10.99, right? For the next class, you say 9 plus 2, which is 11.00, less than 10.99 plus 2, which is 12.99, right? When you go to the next class, 11 plus 2, you get 13.00, less than 12.99 plus 2, you get 14.99. Then the last one will be 15.00 plus 2, you get 15.00, less than 14.99 plus 2, you get 16.99, which is our last class. Why am I saying that is our last class? We don't have any value greater than 16 here. You see, our maximum value is 15.90. So we don't have any value greater than this value. So that's why it's our last class, right? So now, these are our classes now. Now we need to group people, right? We want to see how many people have got wages that fall into this range of 5 to 6.99. We want to see also how many people have got wages between 7 to 8.99. We want to see how many people also have got a wage between all these ranges there. So let's start with the first class, right? Let's see how many people have got a wage that is between 5.00 and 6.99. So we go back to this list. So this one is correct, and then this one is correct. So we only have 2, 1, 2. So remember, it's 5 to 6.99. So it's 1, 2. So we come here, right? So we are putting them in their own corner here. How many people will stand in that corner? There are 2 of them, right? Let's go to the next corner. This corner now, it's 7 to 8.99. So let's go back. Let's check, right? 7 to 8.99. So it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. So these 3, right? So it's 3 in that corner. Let's go to the next corner, 9 to 10.99, right? So there is 1, there is 2, there is 3, there is 4 there, right? So there are 4 in that corner. So we have grouped these ones. There are 4 in their corner. Let's check 11 to 12.99, right? So let's go 11 to 12.99. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. There are 5 of them, right? So let's come here. Let's put them in their own corner. That is 5 there. Now let's see from 13 to 14.99. 13 to 14.99. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So there are 4 of them. So we group, put them in their own corner. There are 4 of them. Then the last one, which is 15 to 16.99. So let's see, they are the last 2 here, right? And then we come, there are 2. So now to prove that we have accounted for everyone, right? We have grouped everyone according to their own classes. To prove that you have done it correctly, you can add all of this. So if we add all of this, it must give us 20. So 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 4 is 9, 9 plus 5 is 14, 14 plus 4 is 18, 18 plus 2 is 20. So we have grouped everyone in their category, respective category. Now, the question was saying include cumulative frequency. So now, this frequency here is the number, is more like the number of people that are in that class, right? So when we say cumulative frequency, you are saying you are adding the frequencies together, right? Like for example, if we want to have a cumulative frequency for the first class, we say 2 plus the class before it, right? The frequency of the class before it was 0 because there is no class before it, right? So it's 2 plus 0, which gives us what? 2, right? Then here it's 3 plus the class before it, which is 3 plus 2 plus 0. Remember, the 0, it's accounting for the class, the no class there, right? So this one is equals to 5, right? So this is the longer way. There's a shorter way of it, but remember I said I'm going to take you as if you don't know, right? So when we do the lectures, actually, I'm going to show you the shorter way of doing it. Then for this cumulative frequency for this class, so it will be 4, right? Plus, so 4, remember, is this one, is the frequency of the class, plus 3, from the previous class, plus 2, right? Plus 0, there was nothing before, right? So it will be what? It will be 9, right? Then here, it will be this 5 plus the 4 plus the 3. You can see that is tiresome, né? So that's why I said I'm going to show you a faster method. 2 plus 0 plus, so this one will be 14. So it's only for the guys that are going to come for the lectures, right? So it's exclusive content, unfortunately. All right, so now we've got 4, then we say plus, we've got 5. So the 5 previous, plus we've got this 4, plus we've got this 3, plus we've got the 2, 2, then plus we've got the 0, and then we get 18 here. Then the last one will be 2 plus 4 plus 5. Oh my God, what am I doing? All right, 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 0. Then we get 20. So now, when you are doing the table, you are not supposed to put the pluses. So you are supposed actually just to leave it like this. Here, I'm just doing it for the sake of the people that would want to know where are these values coming from, right? So this is how it's supposed to be. But for the sake of the notes, let me leave it like that, right? So that people will understand, right, where it's coming from. So we are done actually. So when you have a table like this, you have actually answered number 3, right? You have done number 3 there. So now let's go to number 4. It says determine the mean. Meaning, remember I said whenever you see the word mean, it means average, right? So it's your average. So we now want to find the average using the raw data. So remember, this is the keyword there. raw data. So they could have said determine the mean wage rate for grouped data, because we have already grouped the data, right? But they said raw data. So remember, I told you the reason why I had to explain the difference between grouped data and ungrouped data is because their formulas are different. So when you are calculating, excuse me, okay, what's this? When you are calculating the mean for ungrouped data, this is the formula, right? We're going to talk about this in detail when we do the slides, right? So it says mean is equal to the sum of all the observations. So you add all the numbers, then you divide by the total number. All right, I was supposed to say total number here, not just number. So basically what I'm saying is we are going to add all these numbers here. 5 plus this plus that up until to the last number. When you add everything, you get one number, obviously, which is your sum. In this case, it happened to be 223.2. Then you divide by the total number of people, which are 20. So the mean, the average is 11.16. As easy as that. All right. Then we go to the last question. I'm not going to do question number 6. Is it number 6? Let me see. Yeah, I'm not going to do question number 6 because it's not in your study guide. So I don't want to waste time explaining something which is not in the study guide, right? So let me just end here at number 4. So number 4 says, draw what is called an ogive curve corresponding to the data and use it to estimate the median. So remember we said the measures of central tendencies, we've got a mean, we've got a median, we've got a mode. So here we are actually calculating the mean. On this question, we are calculating the median, right? So now they are making us to calculate the median using a graph. So the first thing now, what is an ogive curve? So an ogive curve is a graph where you plot upper class limit versus cumulative frequency. Right? All right, so let me delete this, right? So upper class limit. So let's go back to the table here. So remember class intervals, we've got values on the left side and values on the right side of the greater than sign there. Is it less than sign, right? So all the values that are on the left side, they are lower class limits. Then all the values on the right side here, they are upper class limits. So when you are plotting an ogive curve, this one, you need to plot upper class limit. So upper class limit, you are taking only the values on the right hand side. So that's your 6.99, 8.99, 10.99, 12.99, 14.99, 16.99, right? Those are the values that you are taking only. Then your cumulative frequency, these are the values of 2, 5, 9, 14, 18, and 20. So now what you do is you have the 6.99, 8.99, 10.99, 12.99, 14.99, and then we've got your 16.99. So when you do this, you just put this in Excel. I'm going to show you later because we're going to be plotting graphs. So I also use Excel when it comes to this module. So I'm not going to do this today, but I'm going to show you because that takes a lot of time to explain how to plot a graph on Excel. Some of you guys already know, but like I said, I treat you as if you don't already know, right? So that we are on the same page. I don't want to presume that you guys don't know when some of you guys don't know. I'm going to show you how to plot this, but when you plot the graph, it will come out like this, right? it will come out like this. Then when you are calculating now your median, so what you do is on the right side, you put on the left side rather, sorry, on the left side or your y-axis. Remember, this is a what the I'm trying to find the right word for it. Okay, this is just a graph, because if I say that word, I think it will confuse people. So this is just a graph. It is a y-axis and an x-axis. Basic. This is basic, right? So on your y-axis, the maximum value is 20 because there are 20 people, right? So if you want to find what is called the number, remember we said median, that is the value that divides the data into two equal halves, right? So in this case, if you want to find the median, so what you do is you say number 20, the maximum value on your y-axis, you divide it by 2. So in this case, it's 20. So 20 divided by 2, you get 10. Then you draw a line. You draw a line. Let me try to zoom this in, right? So you draw a horizontal line. So let me try to imitate this. So what you do is you draw a horizontal line from here, right? It goes to where it crosses where the horizontal line crosses the curve. Can you see? Where it crosses the curve there, right? Then what you do, oh my God, what did I just do? Okay. Oh, just give me a moment. Okay. Disaster. All right, let me do this. I think I zoomed in a lot. Let me try to reduce the zooming in so that we are on the same page. All right, so let me do this. So let me redo it. So I was saying that you come at 10, you draw a horizontal line, right? It crosses over the what? The curve here, right? And then when it crosses the curve, the point where it gets to the curve, you draw another horizontal line going down, right? So the value that you get here on the y-axis, that's your median. So they said estimate. So someone might get 11.40, someone might get 11.50. So there's no single value as an answer there. Someone might get 11 point, let's say 75, but you can't get it 12 because 12 will be somewhere here. You'll be at the middle. So you just have to estimate to what you think might be the value, right? But actually that is how you do it, right? So now this is all that I had for you today. So now I'm opening up the floor to all of you guys. Maybe let's say you've got questions or you want me to clarify something. Just feel free to unmute yourself to ask whatever type of question that you have. But like I said, don't worry. If you didn't understand anything, don't worry at all. Everything that I said in this lecture, I'm going to repeat it, including these definitions. Including these definitions again, I'm going to repeat them. Today, the main purpose of the lecture was for you guys to just familiarize with the method of delivery and how I deliver content, right? You were just getting to know me as a person regarding to the manner in which I lecture. All right, so okay, I've opened the floor. Guys, feel free to unmute if there are any questions before we close the session.
I mean, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just two questions for me, and maybe a bit of a clarity. Okay, firstly, I appreciate the way you're delivering. I think it's starting to make sense in terms of holistically on the logic of the module itself. But nonetheless, on that, can you please scroll down? I would inform you when to. Okay, can you scroll down? Can you scroll down? Okay, we go on, we go on, we go on. Okay, just there on the classes, on the class intervals. I do notice that we were given 5, and then we came up with 699. My
Yes.
question on that is, can the number be 6.98, or it should only be the closest number before the start of the new class interval?
That is actually a very good question. So it can only be the closest number to the next lower class limit of the next class. So it
Okay.
can be 6.98 because you have skipped a 9 there.
Okay. I've got it on that one. So now on the last question that you were answering on the, I think question 4 or so, the last one, where we were talking maiden. What is the reason you've explained in terms of the average, but now the median, what's the logic, what is the purpose of the median? In what instances would you have to calculate the median? What is it? What is the median?
Okay, so when we do the lectures, when I got this in detail, I actually give an example of a real life scenario where the median is used. So just in a nutshell, so the question that I actually use when we do the lectures, it's about a car dealership that sells cars, right? Yes. So what it does is they've got, let's say, 9 months, right? So they've got like what we call, let's say, the number of cars that they sold each month for 9 months. So let's say 30, 40, 60, something like that. Then they say find using the median, right? Find the number of cars, right? That will make the median value. I'm not rephrasing the question correctly, but the question will be like using these months, right? And the number of cars that were sold per month, find the median. So the median, now what it does is you are going to find the number that is going to separate this the number of cars that were sold for 9 months, right? So you're going to divide them into 2 equal halves. So what the median is going to do is you are going to say they were, let's say, for example, now you have found the median, right? When you have found the median, your interpretation will be they were 4 months where the number of cars were sold at less than this value, and then there are 4 months where the number of cars that were sold are greater than this value. So this is where the median comes in. So I know right now the way that I'm saying it might be a bit confusing, but when we get into the lecture, I'm going to highlight to you that this is the example that I was talking about in terms of the median. So basically, the median, what it does in a nutshell, it separates your data set into 2 equal halves. So you start. Let me do this using the example that I did here. So what you do is you start by, if it is ungrouped data, you start by sorting it from the lowest value to the maximum value, right? So in this case, they are 10, they are 20, right? They are 20 people. So we have to say the value that that will be in the middle. So let's say this value is in the middle here. It's for the argument's sake, right? But there's a mathematical way of doing it. I don't want to do it because I'll end up confusing people because it's a lecture on its own. So let's say for argument's sake, this is this one in yellow, in red, that's your median, right? So what you're going to do is you are saying there are this number of months, right, where the wages were less than, okay, let's listen, these are people. So we say there's a number of people whose wages are less than 11.75, and there are so many number of people whose wages are greater than 11.75. So that's actually what a median does. It's separating people into two categories, right? A lower boundary and an upper boundary. So now you're describing them based on that value only, that there are so many number of people that have got a wage less than this value, and there are so many number of people that have got a wage greater than this value. I don't know if I explained to you in a...
Yes, no, I think I get the gist of it. I just need to apply myself also in
Yes.
terms of the examples and so forth. But I think I get the gist. When you are saying that it separates
Yeah,
into
yes.
two, then okay. Right.
So don't worry.
Okay, thanks, Mina.
Yes, so don't worry. When we do it in detail, you understand it.
Okay.
When I do that example. All right. Any other question, guys? I don't know. Just feel free. Okay. So I'm assuming that people don't have questions or maybe things that they want to ask. All right. So guys, thank you so much, for tuning in. So most likely tomorrow we're going to have another lecture for information management. So that one is a little bit different because this module is mathematical. But the one that we're going to do tomorrow is very, very interesting because now it's a bit of much more theoretical. But I've got another unique way also that I deliver content so that you can understand it. I try to give as many of real life examples as possible so that you guys can understand. You can try to conceptualize, right? Or conceptualize the content and so forth, so that you really understand it in basic terms. All right, so guys, thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. For those that are gonna come in for the introductory for information management, see you tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Good night.
Okay, thank you, Mina.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.